Gay con nam yo ho ring 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 gay con ring gay con nam yo ho 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 ring gay con ring gay con nam yo ho 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 ring gay con ring gay con nam yo ho 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 ring gay con ring gay con nam yo ho 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 ring gay con ring gay con nam yo ho 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 ring gay con ring gay con nam yo ho 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 ring gay con ring gay con nam yo ho 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 ring gay con ring gay con nam yo ho ring gay con nam yo ho ring gay con nam yo ho ring gay con ring gay con nam yo ho 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 ring gay con ring gay con nam yo ho ring gay con nam yo ho ring gay con nam yo ho ring gay con ring gay con nam yo ho 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 ring gay con ring gay con nam yo ring gay con nam yo ring gay con nam yo ring gay con ring gay con nam yo ho ring gay con nam yo ho ring gay con ring gay con nam yo ho ring gay con nam yo ho ring gay con nam yo ho ring gay con ring gay con nam yo ho ring gay con nam yo ho ring gay con nam yo ho ring gay con ring gay con nam yo ho ring gay con nam yo ho ring gay con nam yo ho ring gay con ring gay con nam yo ho 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 ring gay con yo ho ring gay con nam 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 yo ho ring gay con Wagwan people. So I know everyone on the call pretty much today. So I've allowed you to be able to unmute yourself if you want to ask me any questions. I don't normally do that. If there's a troll or someone I don't recognize, I keep it quite strict, but I trust all of your spirits. So if you do want to speak to me, ask a question, feel free to. I'm sitting in front of a heater. Let me just take my jumper off. Winter settings. Guys, it's the time of mystic revelations right now. Mystic revelations. Things are being revealed on this planet within our own lives to make us feel uncomfortable so that we move into a new direction. We're being called to look at our own blind spots right now. This isn't about the book, by the way. I'm just sharing what's happening in my life, and maybe you'll all feel some of this, because I feel that you're all reflections for us to all be studying Buddhism at this moment together. A small sangha we are right now. A sangha means a community of believers. I can only imagine that maybe you're also experiencing some of the challenges and transformations that I am. And we're being called to, as I often say, Hosshaku Kempon, cast off the transient version of ourselves. And the transient version of ourselves is filled with fear, it's filled with what ifs, it's filled with doubt and anxiety. And the true eternal Buddhahood within, the ether, God, whatever you want to call it, we're being called more than ever to trust that. And we actually slander our own lives. We slander the mystic law if we keep on living in fear and anxiety, if we keep on choosing to have one foot in, one foot out. We're truly being called now to be the pioneers that we always were, the black sheep, the person to cut the karma for the family, the person to step up and protect someone at work or in your local environment, or even if it's to protect your own future by making difficult decisions now so that your future will be brighter. So yeah, I just wanted to share that. But anyway, Wagwan, everyone. Layla, Kate, Clea, Mark, Hannah. I don't know if there's anyone else, maybe not on someone else. There's two other people. I'm not too sure who they are, but I know that I can trust them. So anyway, Ryan might be joining us in a bit. I'm not too sure. But let me share the screen. So today we're going to be doing chapter 4. And I've decided I would love to try and do this so that it's finished by the end of this Gregorian year. So I'm thinking I might leave the next one to 2 weeks, so we have some time to digest this, study the next 2 chapters, and then do 2 chapters in 2 hours in 2 weeks. That way, hopefully, we're finishing this year with all of this energy, and we can step into the fake new year. So yeah, let me share the screen now. Just a quick show of hands. Did anyone manage to actually complete the chapter? Happiness, chapter 4. Kate, Mark, let me just see. Layla, amazing. Okay, cool. Okay, amazing. So this chapter is very significant, one of my favorites, because this is what it's all about, happiness. But people think that happiness, especially when it comes to spirituality and New Age, is everyone clapping their hands, chanting mantras to the sky, trying to manifest a benevolent future, not recognizing that life is inevitable suffering. To the day we die, we're going to have suffering. If I can't feed myself one night, I'm going to suffer. So the inevitability of suffering is always within our aura. And to recognize that means that we can go for a deeper level of happiness instead of a happiness which is transient, a happiness which is only given to us when something beautiful happens or all these synchronicities happen. We need something which keeps us rock solid even through the darkest and heaviest of times. And that's an absolute deep happiness. And so hopefully we can touch upon this a little bit today. So we're going to start with just one very small sentence, and it's actually on page 94. And it's the first 2 sentences only. So let me put it on the screen. And I've got a song called Nag Champa. You can find it on Instagram. It's funny. Years ago, I was making music, and I never really cared about the music. I don't really consider myself a musician. I'm not like Clear's she's a real musician. Yeah, she wakes up, all she does is think about music. I liked music, and I just thought of it as a way of being able to spread a message. So when you find this song, Nag Champa by Indigo Child on YouTube, it's going to make you laugh because I'm basically just dropping all of this Buddhist knowledge with no real thought of actually the music, which is quite hilarious. But in that song, I say this sentence, and it blew me away that I remembered that 10 years ago, this is where I got one of the sentences from. And it says, through the correct Buddhist practice, one can create the fundamental causes that lead to indestructible happiness. Very significant sentence, indestructible happiness, not transient happiness, not happiness as in like Cleo, I can imagine when you had your EP launch, you was happy. I can guarantee though, you've had some lower vibrational moments since that day. So that happiness isn't indestructible. An indestructible happiness is knowing why you've incarnated, knowing that you're here to make a change, knowing the dignity of who you are throughout all of the ebb and flows. Let me read that again. Through the correct, very specific as well, correct Buddhist practice. Remember, there's many forms of Buddhist practice out there. And a lot of them are designed to keep us in a passive stance instead of a creative action-based practice where we actually face the darkness of the times. We charge ourselves up with life force so that we can actually be the person to go and speak to that dodgy uncle in your family or you know what I mean? It's like that's true happiness to know that I've got what it takes to be that person. So through the correct Buddhist practice, one can create the fundamental causes that lead to indestructible happiness. So that's the first sentence there. Let me just stop sharing it and just quickly say hey to Ryan. Do you want to unmute yourself, Ryan? Thank you for joining, Lion. I know you've got a lot going on in your life and it's beautiful to have you with us. Oh, as always, you need to do something because the mic's not working. And when you're just doing that, let me get the next page ready.
I don't know what it is.
There we
no
are.
idea.
There we are.
Every time. There you go. You've got to make those causes so you don't let the internet get you down.
Thank you, Ryan. Thanks for being here. Okay, so guys, we're going to be on page 98 now, midway down the page. Let me share that. So, midway down the page, it says, to understand that life means difficulty liberates us because it helps us to understand problems and suffering as natural parts of life, not as signs of our inadequacy. I'm going to bring Ryan into this in a minute because we had a beautiful conversation in the Chinese restaurant yesterday about the practicality of Nichiren Buddhism and why we gave our life to this practice in a sense. Because Let me read this again. To understand that life means difficulty liberates us because it helps us to understand problems and suffering as a natural part of life, not as signs of our inadequacy. So that being said, Ryan, I'm going to quickly just get you to mention a bit about what we spoke about, which was yesterday. We was in the Chinese restaurant and we were speaking about the emperors of Greece. And by the way, I watched Gladiator last night, Ryan. It was Rome,
Oh,
sorry.
you watched it? Okay, so you. Yeah.
I watched Gladiators last night, and Marcus Aurelius, and it was fascinating. But we were speaking about this. I'm gonna chop up the word here. Stoicism, is it?
Stoicism.
A raise of hands if anyone's ever heard of Stoicism. Okay, incredible. 2, 3. So I've heard of it, but I didn't really know much about it. And maybe you could just touch on what, because this part right here is why I became a Buddhist. Because when I started to hear Daisaku Aikido, Nichiren Daishonin, the truth of what the Buddhist teachings were trying to share to us is that life is a blood clot, difficult time. Yeah, and it's gonna be, and it's hard. Yeah, but to know that, to come into it with that knowledge and awareness instead of some kind of passive, like it's all a dream, it really puts us in a different perspective. And then when I've heard about this philosophy that comes from like ancient Rome, it's almost like the only philosophy that I found and writings found that almost matches Nichiren Buddhism. So maybe you could just touch a little bit on the similarities and like on that, bro.
Okay, so one of the things about Stoicism is that much like Buddhism, we've got a philosophy that says don't avoid pain, okay? That pain is a necessary part of life, but suffering isn't. And the idea being, so this was formed by a guy called Zeno of Citium around 300 BC, give or take. And a good, meaningful life comes not from avoiding pain or pursuing pleasure, but from living virtuously. Okay, they've got like the 4 tenets: wisdom, courage, justice, and something called temperance, which just means self-control. All of which you can find absolutely in Nichiren Buddhism. And we were talking about in Roman history, they've got this thing called the 7 good emperors, who were these wise leaders who were philosophers as well as rulers, who understood about taking care of people and things like that. And we were sort of talking about, so Marcus Aurelius' main book is called Meditations, and it's actually his diary. It wasn't meant to be published, but this is a guy writing a couple of thousand years ago, and it's like he could have said it yesterday. Basically, it's so practical and down to earth. Hugely recommend it. You can get it. There's free audio books on YouTube. The ebook is free because it's massively out of copyright, but massively recommend it because genuinely, I challenge you to find anything in it that disagrees with Nichiren Buddhism. I really do. So couple of headline facts on this because I don't want to derail this, but so Stoicism says pain's outside our control, but our mental response is within our control.
Bang.
And in Nichiren Buddhism, it's basically the same thing. Okay, pain is part of life. So if you want to use Buddhist terminology, that's something called samsara. But through inner transformation, we gain wisdom and peace. Basically, exactly the same. The kind of one-to-one. But take into account, and this is what's beautiful about it, about this commonality that we all have as human beings. Marcus
Boom, and the philosopher's
Aurelius from the West.
Say that again, Ryan. You just broke up slightly.
Yeah. No, I saw. So, what's great is it shows the commonality that we all have in our core when it comes to pain and how we react to it and what we can do about it. Because Marcus Aurelius was an emperor. He ran the biggest empire the world had ever seen at that point. Okay, this was a very Western mindset. Very sort of like what we'd probably call capitalist today. And Nichiren Daishonin, almost as far east as you can go, coming from Japan, okay, from a very different mindset. He was not like a powerful person. This is a guy sent to exile not once but twice on a tiny island that you would not want to go to, who overcome all those odds. And he had the same idea. He understood. So Seneca, who was a general, okay, it was one of the big Stoics. He said, we suffer more in imagination than in reality. Okay. And then in Nichiren Buddhism, suffering gets transformed into enlightenment by chanting Daimoku. And we're talking about the Gohonzon. And that's the sort of the mirror. I know I missed a little bit, so I don't want to repeat anything. But it's the same thing. It's about understanding the difference between our perception of reality and what we think we're supposed to be feeling and how we're supposed to react, and the actual practical reality of, yes, this situation might hurt, but I get to choose how I react to it because I recognize it for what it is, that it's a moment in time. Because we can't, human beings don't have the capacity to remember pain in the literal sense. We can remember feeling a situation that made us feel bad, but we can't recount the actual physical sensation of the pain. Yeah. Sometimes the memory can make us cry, but that's us looking at it rather than experiencing it again. The idea is with both these philosophies, it's recognizing that you don't have to just react to something, you can choose to act. And part of that is like refining yourself by chanting to the Gohonzon, because the Gohonzon doesn't change your life, you change your life. But the Gohonzon is a 100% honest mirror. You can't hide from it. And the idea is you chant, really basically, you chant to change the face that looks back at you in that mirror, from one that's just in pain, suffering, miserable, whatever, to one that understands the point of pain and that is, as you said, indestructible happiness. Does that make sense? I know there's a lot there.
No, that was beautiful.
Can I have like a show of hands if you understood that? Just because. Okay, yes. Thank you very much. Cheers. Yes. So I realised there's a lot there. So, yeah. Do you want to carry on? Because I could keep going. But...
No, that's perfect. That's perfect. I can carry on. Just that was amazing. I know that one of the first times, no doubt, someone's been able to so perfectly link these two different philosophies together. That's going to be interesting to put online. So anyway, guys, we're going
to... If anyone would like a handout, I can prepare one. Honestly.
He's the king of handouts. He's also prepared a chapter 4 handout for us that I'll send to all of you afterwards, like last time. So yeah, page 100, guys, back into the book. And now we're going to go slightly. This is a little bit that I'm going to be reading now because I think it's important to give you an example of how happiness is understood in Buddhism and a bit of the technicalities of the faith now. So we're going to speak about the 10 worlds, actually. So let me share the screen. Boom. So you'll see this. Beautiful. Cool. So neither wealth, status, fame, nor beauty can assure us of a happy life. This is because happiness based on these things is relative happiness. It is dependent on circumstantial and temporary. It is dependent, circumstantial, and temporary. Whoever strives to construct a happy life based on wealth, status, fame, or beauty will eventually encounter dissatisfaction, loss, and unhappiness. Instead, Buddhism expounds a happiness that is absolute and lasting. Absolute happiness is a state of life in which we can enjoy our existence under any circumstances. The state of absolute happiness is called Buddhahood. And Ryan just mentioned that Nichiren Daishonin, he was exiled twice, and he speaks about being in an absolute state of happiness while being in a snow-capped little, like, shed, basically. And I'm sure some of you may have heard about the man that was in prison for maybe all of his life, and he talks about how the spirit can't be caged, and how when he would go into meditation he felt like he was around the entire world, he was free. So there's, these are extreme examples of how you can find happiness when people would think it would be impossible. So where did I get to? We are born in this life to be happy, not merely to endure suffering. This is a basic premise of the Buddhism taught by Nichiren and the Soka Gakkai International, the lay organization of Nichiren followers throughout the world. This is the organization me and Ryan are members of. How can we attain lasting happiness when our usual state of being is so mercurial? I think that's what I'm saying. But I think that basically, what does that say, Ryan? Mercurial. I'm guessing that means like mundane or flat. Can you unmute yourself?
Sorry, done it again, haven't I? It's mercurial, which means just very quick and of the moment.
Oh, okay, perfect. Okay, cool. So A core Buddhist principle called the Ten Wells systematically outlines the ceaseless moment-to-moment drama of our inner lives. This principle teaches that we are continually experiencing various states of being that operate at a level far below the conscious mind. These states, from lowest to highest, are hell, hunger, animality,
Yep.
anger, humanity, which is like tranquility, heaven, or known as rapture, it is also referred to as relative or temporary happiness. So like when Clear's just done an EP and it's like, yo, I'm in a state of heaven, yeah? But of course, it's only relative and temporary because all it takes is to find out that someone's been knocked over in a phone call. All of that's gone out the window in 10 seconds. But it's still a beautiful state, you know? And most religions, most New Age religions, most Abrahamic religions, they actually cap it at the sixth life state. Like heaven is the place to be. That's it. And they don't even allow you to think that heaven is something that you can achieve while being alive. It's like heaven is an external, future-based thing that you can maybe achieve. Whereas for Buddhists, it's very much actually only a fleeting life state that we have within the day. That's how dramatically different we consider heaven to, for instance, the Christian faith. So these are called and we'll speak about this, but these are called the first 6 worlds, the lower worlds. And then to be a practicing Buddhist, our aim is to reach the top 4 worlds, which we actually have to strive for. And it will speak about this, but I'm just giving you my own interpretation. From hell to heaven, it's all reactionary. And you can see how you could hit your toe and then you're in a state of hell, and then you launch your EP and you're in a state of heaven. But that's just reacting to life. To go to the next 4, you actually have to put energy in. And this is what we're all doing right now. So the next one, 7, is learning. All of us have had to make time, carve time, make sure the kids are good, go sleep, like, you know, buy the book. Like, we've had to make an effort to come here to learn. We don't have to make an effort to receive the state of heaven in us when we win a jackpot. We don't have to work hard for that. It's like, oh my God, heaven's here. But to learn something now is an effort. So that's level 7. Level 8, realization. To have a realization, to have a ding moment. Yeah, that's a beautiful life state. Life state 9 is Bodhisattva, which is now I'm going to start to be compassionate, you know. Policemen, well, not the dodgy ones, but, you know, police, firemen, nurses, these are Bodhisattvas. These are people that, you know, in their heart, they've wanted to do something to help the world, you know. This is a state of Bodhisattva. And then Buddhahood, also called enlightenment or absolute happiness. And Buddhahood is something in Nichiren Buddhism that we're guaranteed to attain in this life. And it's not a fixed destination. Actually, when Buddhahood becomes your dormant life state, all of the other life states become illuminated. But we'll speak about this a little bit more. So, nearly everyone has a tendency to dwell in one world more than in the other. For example, from an early age, one might have become well known for having a short fuse in dealing with others. People with such a temper tend to occupy the world of anger. Or maybe you tend to be a passive, timid sort who lets the chips fall where they may. Perhaps humanity is your dominant world and passivity your Achilles heel. Maybe you're one who can never get enough, whether it be money or sex or approval. Hunger then is your world. We could call this one's life tendency, or better yet, one's karma. Most of us struggle through life with the same unchanging tendencies dominating our professional, social, and family interactions. Try as we might, there are always 1 or 2 worlds or life conditions that we seem to gravitate towards. Despite even Herculean efforts at self-improvement, we often find it extremely difficult to change this fundamental tendency. Mine was anger, and still is, but mine's a lot more righteous, but we'll explain this in a bit. To illustrate how these 10 worlds or conditions of life might function within your own psyche, let's imagine an ordinary day in the life. So, you wake up, get out of bed, perhaps even drag a comb across your head, as in the Beatles song. You have your morning coffee, you read the papers. Perhaps you have a Labrador dozing peacefully at your feet. You're in the world of humanity, where one remains in a neutral gear. Now you head out into the world, begin your daily commute, and get into bumper to bumper traffic. Immediately, you are cut off and nearly hit by someone vying for incremental advantage. You exchange hostile glances with this inconsiderate person. For a flashing instant, you are in the world of anger. Arriving at work, you find that your immediate superior has taken credit for your best work and again piled your desk with boring, low-profile assignments. Disgusted, but lacking the courage to confront authority, you instead snap at your assistant and begin dulling out as many unpleasant tasks to him as you can find. You have snuck into the world of animality, where one is easily dominated and in turn seeks to dominate others. The day wears on and you go to lunch. As usual, you can't help noticing individuals you find attractive. Alas, you are not currently seeing anyone. In fact, you have almost given up the hope of ever meeting the right person. Indeed, this woeful, resigned feeling colors everything you see and do. You are in the world of hunger, where strong, unfulfilled desires distort your view of reality. Returning to your office, you call a recent flame and ask for a date. This person tells you, however, that the relationship is really over, that you have personal tastes, including your love. This person tells you, however, that the relationship is really over, that you have personal tastes, including your love of modern jazz, that makes further contact impossible. Shocked and hurt, you begin to feel that you will never be happy, that there is no way out. Your career is a dud. You can't sustain a relationship. Your problems are overwhelming. You are now in the world of hell, a condition of utmost suffering where even the possibility of achieving some degree of happiness seems impossible. Just at this moment, when all hope seems lost, the telephone rings. It is a professional acquaintance, a very attractive one, calling with an extra ticket to a jazz concert that night. Would you care to come? Instantly, you are in heaven. The world where desires have been fulfilled, a state of relative happiness, sometimes also called rapture. Your entire attitude towards the day has changed. The circumstances that put you in hell shrink in magnitude, and an aura of good fortune suffuses your life. In Buddhism, heaven and hell are not places, but conditions of life. Such is the shifting interior landscape of human existence. Perhaps you can even recognize the variability of your own mind in the flow of thought and emotions that occur in this story. Our own inner lives are kaleidoscopes, changing color and patterns with infinite variety and subtleties amid the welter and chaos of contemporary existence. In truth, when something happens to elate us, our fundamental circumstances have hardly changed at all. What has changed is the person within, and that person has been constantly changing from the moment the alarm rang. The worlds we have described so far are known in Buddhism as the six paths, or the six lower worlds. For the vast majority of human race, life is primarily a matter of bouncing back and forth, as in a pinball machine, among these six worlds. One might reasonably ask, what's wrong with being in the world of humanity and heaven? The problem is that these states don't last. In the lower six paths, we are living primarily in reaction to external circumstances. In these lower worlds, we are at the mercy of our environment. Our well-being is contingent on something or someone else. A person in the lower worlds is thus doomed to a roller coaster experience, happy when things go well, unhappy when things don't, ultimately experiencing little control in life in spite of often prodigious efforts. True happiness can never be rooted in this shifting quicksand. But within us exists the potential for a different, more solid kind of happiness, culminating in the absolute happiness of Buddhahood. The higher worlds include Buddhahood, are known as the Four Noble Worlds. Unlike the conditional, reactive states of the lower six, the first three noble worlds of learning, realization, and Bodhisattva are proactive, not reactive states. The Buddhism of Nichiren uses these states as the basis for a practice that leads us to self-centered state of absolute happiness. Let us now return to our day in the life scenario. Buoyed by the phone call and wishing to avoid sinking to a morass of negative feelings about your job, you plunge with renewed enthusiasm into your work, a major research project you have been involved in for some time, a project that heightens your understanding of your profession and the way the world works. The hours fly by like minutes. You are in the world of learning, where you gain knowledge about life, even if it is entirely within a non-Buddhist framework. Returning home, you decide to play the piano for a bit to pass the time before your date. You find yourself increasingly absorbed in a particular jazz riff, which you explore through myriad variations. You are now in the eighth world, realization, typically described as a kind of awakening that comes through discipline. It is also characterized as the thrill of mastering a difficult skill, and it applies as much to building a boat in the backyard or learning needlepoint as it does to writing a sonnet or a symphony. Now let us suppose that a soulful piano chord prompts you to remember a sick friend in the hospital. You decide to visit her on the way to the jazz concert. You are now in the world of Bodhisattva, or compassion, characterized by a willingness to help others. This world is also known as aspiration for enlightenment. Since we shall see concern for the happiness and well-being of others is integral to the conduct of a Buddha. Boom. Ryan, anything to say on this? The idea that the Four Noble Paths are something that many people don't really even know about or understand. Oh, I have to get you to unmute. There you go. Sorry. No? Okay, he's frozen. So what I'm going to do then, because he's frozen, is he?
Hello.
Okay, you're there. You're
Yeah,
big
sorry.
glitchy, a little
Yeah.
glitchy.
So I know I've just got new Wi-Fi. I think it's still bedding in. So the Four Noble Worlds. It's interesting because Buddhism is one of those very rare belief systems that isn't like a binary thing where if you like you're going to heaven or you're going to hell. It recognizes there's a lot more to it than that, because so with humanity, it's about being able to pause and reflect. And remember, we were talking earlier about choosing your actions in response to something happening to you. This is where this really sort of comes in. So this is like your logical side. This is the part where you're recognizing, you know, things like the purpose of pain, and you respond with awareness. Remember, it's recognizing that the moment that you are in isn't, if you like, your whole life. Because when you react with anger to something, it's like that's all your focus, and this is all there is that's going on right now. You don't think, hang on, wait a minute, I'm a rational human being. I practically never get angry, and now I'm acting like this is like the worst thing in the world that can happen to me. So that's where humanity sort of comes in. So it's your, if you like, if you know Star Trek, this is your Mr. Spock side. This is your rational side where you are able to understand things. The next one, sort of heaven or rapture. Okay. Now, this is a really interesting one because this is also, what you've got to remember is all of the positive worlds have a negative side to them and vice versa. So that this one, like the heaven room, this is your temporary happiness. Okay. This is not the indestructible happiness we were talking about. But going here, if you think of this like a room, everything's great. Things are going well. You feel happy and rewarded, successful. Maybe you're in love or whatever. But nothing here is stable. It's about recognizing again, you are a complex entity. You're a continuum of time. You're a lifetime. You're not just in the moment, one moment. This is a great place to be. This is where you get all your dopamine, your excitement, and your reward. But it's still contingent because it's like, think of it like this. This is the kind of happiness where you can feel absolutely great as long as things are going your way. You can have, I'm sure you've all had it. You're having a great time wherever you are. Someone just says something and it just annoys you or niggles you. And then that's it. That's the end. You're out of the heaven state, if you like, because it's conditional. It's not recognizing that there's more to this. So like I said, so this is a nice place to be, but it's also can be a trap unless you recognize what it is, because this is happiness that's of the moment. Yeah.
Yeah.
It makes sense. Does that make sense to everyone? I need you got to tell me, because I know
Yeah,
I just do this. So okay, cheers. So it's not lasting happiness. The next one, learning. This is what we're doing today. Okay. So this is seeking like insight through yourself and through others. So again, it's about saying, I want to understand, help me grow. And that's something we all need to say to each other, as often as possible, really, because this is about having an open mind. Okay. So again, if this was a room, this would be like a library, but it wouldn't be just full of books, it'd be full of people. And that's a really important distinction to make, because this is about sharing with others what you've learned and what you want to get from them. And then you've got realization, which again, this is more internal. This is you looking for insight truly from within. This is where you've got to the point where you understand, you've learned from other people, and that will keep going on. But you will know how to take that wisdom and make it your own and look within and find even more wisdom, because you're able to experience about that. This is not knowledge that's given. This is knowledge that's discovered. Okay. This is you excavating your own soul, if you like. Okay, it's very similar to something Plato said. He had this theory called anamnesis, and he said that just before we're born, we kind of get taken to this place called the realm of the forms, where everything is perfect. The perfect example of everything is found there. And we get shown that just before we're born. And then when we're born, we forget a lot of it. But whenever we think we're learning something, we're actually remembering. Plato said that all the wisdom and knowledge in the world is within. And so this is what realization is. It's where you learn enough to learn about yourself by applying that wisdom.
Wow.
Is that clear? Because that was
Yeah.
quite a lot. Yeah?
Incredible.
Yeah. So I mean, those are the noble worlds, and then you've got Bodhisattva and Buddhahood, which is a completely different discussion. But my understanding of the Bodhisattva state is this: you are always recognizing the value of yourself, the value of others, and you recognize that every second you are in is part of this bigger tapestry, this continuum. So what happens to you right now is not what happens to you your whole life, and you understand it in that context. Yeah. So something might happen that might ordinarily upset you, and it might still upset you, but in the Bodhisattva state, you always recognize that's just one moment. So I'm just going to let it go, and now I'm no longer upset. And a Bodhisattva is an unusual case because it's someone who inherently puts others first, but whilst recognizing their own worth. So they're not just giving all the time until they're burnt out. It's having the wisdom to know that balance, and that loving others is a factor of loving yourself. Because if you don't love yourself, it's just a lot of the time it's just empty action. And the idea is the Bodhisattva is wise enough not to burn themselves out giving so much that it's not healthy. And the other key thing is this: Bodhisattvas are people who have reached a state of wisdom where they can achieve enlightenment. They can do that. They understand it and can do it, but they choose to forestall their enlightenment to help others achieve enlightenment first. It's like they're here, they understand, but they want other people to help to ascend and be lifted up. So when you do something charitable to anyone, whenever you put anyone else first, okay, anything like that at all, be it a kind word, giving some money to someone who's homeless or whatever, giving to charity, letting someone go ahead of you in the queue, all of that, those are the acts of the Bodhisattva. Someone who understands that they are a fundamental part of like the machinery of the universe. But everyone is. It's just some people, if you like, are still in their cocoon, and other people are butterflies. And the Bodhisattva is a caterpillar helping other caterpillars build their cocoons. If that analogy makes sense. They could be a butterfly. They understand how to do it, but they're teaching others how to do it as well. So everyone can sort of lift up together. Sorry,
Beautiful.
Indigo, you probably weren't expecting me to go on for so long there. I apologise.
No, thank you, bro. It was amazing, and the idea of like remaining as a caterpillar to help other caterpillars, to build the cocoon to then go and become a butterfly is amazing. When that caterpillar the entire time, it's like simultaneously I'm a caterpillar, but actually I'm also the butterfly. But I'm going to be a caterpillar to help you. If that makes, I don't know if yeah.
So the Bodhisattva understands that the caterpillar and the butterfly are the same thing at different moments in their own continuum.
Yes.
So the caterpillar is always the butterfly, but the butterfly in this case is wise enough to remember what it was like to be a caterpillar, and thus helping other people spin their cocoons. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, beautiful, thank you. And that leads so perfectly on to, I wasn't actually going to read this section, but while you were speaking, I've decided to highlight it. We're going to go on for about 20 more minutes, guys. I reckon it will take. So I'm now going to let the book explain what Buddhahood is in its own way, because we spoke about in the first 9, but what does Buddhahood kind of practically look like? And let's read it from the book's perspective. So page 107, Buddhahood, what happiness is. So the 10th and highest world is more difficult to describe because we don't often experience it. Nichiren talks of this state of life in terms of its virtues. The qualities of our Buddha nature are the qualities that make human beings truly great. In his letter, The Three Kinds of Treasures, Nichiren wrote, More valuable than treasures in a storehouse are the treasures of the body, and the treasures of the heart are the most valuable of all. From the moment you read this letter on, strive to accumulate the treasures of the heart. Treasures of the storehouse are material possessions and financial wealth. Treasures of the body are health, good appearance, knowledge, status, etc. While these are important and neglecting them would cause us unnecessary suffering, they are all subject to the law of impermanence, and hence they are ultimately relative. They change with time and cannot be the foundation of lasting happiness. Treasures of the heart means treasures of the inner realm, qualities and attributes arising from our Buddha nature. The real treasures of life are those qualities that enhance our actions in daily life, giving us the wisdom, courage, and confidence to win over any circumstance. The foundation of human happiness begins in the inner realm. Happiness constructed here is not dependent, transient, or circumstantial. It is resilient and, as Hamlet put it, resistant to the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune. Yeah, Ryan knows that one. He loves that stuff, Shakespeare. So anyway, Nichiren refers to this inner realm as the treasure tower, another name for Buddhahood. He wrote, "No treasure tower exists other than the figures of the men and women who embrace the Lotus Sutra. It follows, therefore, that whether eminent or humble, high or low, those who chant Nam Myoho Renge Kyo are themselves the treasure tower. The place where you chant Nam Myoho Renge Kyo will become the dwelling place of the treasure tower. The treasures of the heart, the qualities of absolute happiness, the attributes of the Buddha, are stored in the treasure tower of human life. We human beings are the treasure towers. By chanting Nam Myoho Renge Kyo, we can recognize that we are endowed with everything we need to be absolutely happy. We can open the treasure tower of our lives, and we can revitalize ourselves by manifesting those treasures in our daily lives." How do you begin? You start by chanting Nam Myoho Renge Kyo over and over again. You chant in the morning, you chant in the evening, you chant when you were blue, you chant when you were happy, you chant say that word for me, Ryan. Certain words just completely freeze me. You chant prodigious amounts. There you go.
Prodigiously. It just means a lot.
Prodigious.
Prodigiously.
Prodigious. Thank you for that. It's amazing. So you chant prodigious amounts, an hour or more, when you are facing a challenge or a crisis. And then changes begin to occur. The more one chants, the more his or her dominant life state tendency becomes that of Buddhahood. Buddhahood is not a remote destination, some inaccessible mountain peak that can only be scaled after many decades, perhaps even many lifetimes of arduous efforts. On the contrary, Nichiren explains it is a goal of one's daily practice. Think of an iron chip becoming magnetized by constantly rubbing up against a magnet. And this is really important, guys. This is how I see it. By chanting every single day, say that we are a mirror, it's polishing. It's like if that mirror starts to get tarnished by all of the causes that we're making and the good and bad decisions, everything, by chanting every day, we're just polishing it. And it's like that diamond becomes sharper and sharper and sharper. And then my dominant life state is now leaning in the 4 noble welds instead of the lower 6 reaction welds. Like to wake up in the morning and to chant 3 hours, that's not, you have to fight for this. And that's because of chanting and recognizing that this is the best thing I can do for my day, and knowing that the more I do this, the more I just become electric and magnetic. And so let me read this again. It literally is like an iron chip. So think of an iron chip becoming magnetized by constantly rubbing up against a magnet. The iron chip acquires north and south poles and the power to attract other iron fillings through that exchange. The more we chant sincerely, the more our lives begin to take on the magnetism of enlightenment. Through chanting Nam Myoho Renge Kyo, rubbing against the magnet, we gain wisdom and life force, become magnetized, and attract good fortune and protection by being in harmony with our environment. And this is the true law of attraction. Yeah, not like the secret, something really basic and shallow. This is the true, like to start to really get yourself into a true abundance. And for us, abundance isn't having like loads of like false cash or whatever it is. True abundance means that you know that you're in the slipstream. I call it the slipstream. If you know what a river is, obviously you know what a river is. But when it's like, it's going down a hill, there's always little parts that are like super fast. Do you know what I mean? Like little, it's like when it goes around, I'm in the slipstream where most people are just like going along. When you chant, you become magnetized, and it's like you can take advantage of all these like really subtle energies in the ether because I'm now in tune with it. I've expanded my life to be in the slipstream. I hope that makes sense. So for an example, in a state of anger, the condition itself is transformed so that anger expresses itself in a way that produces value, perhaps in a form of indignation against injustice. Tranquility in a moment of crisis takes on the virtues of patience. So we are now on page 110, developing the inner self. The best predictor of general life satisfaction, according to a nationwide study conducted by the University of Michigan, is not satisfaction with family life, friendships, or income, but satisfaction with self. As Daisaku Ikeda has written, true happiness is not the absence of suffering. You cannot have day after day of clear skies. True happiness lies in building a self that stands dignified and indomitable. Happiness doesn't mean having a life free from all difficulties, but that whatever difficulties arise, without being shaken in the least, you can summon up the unflinching courage and conviction to fight and overcome them. And then a little lower it says, in that sense, attaining Buddhahood is a process of discovering what currently lies dormant within our own hearts, of discovering our true universal self. It's what Ryan was saying earlier, like, we aren't here to learn, we're actually here to remember who we always were, always are, always will be. In a sense, I'll read this again. Attaining Buddhahood is simply a process of discovering what currently lies dormant within our own hearts, discovering our true universal self. And then on page, where am I? 117, guys. It says again, this is Sensei, middle of the page, 117. As Daisaku Ikeda has written, true joy emerges ceaselessly from your life when you squarely battle to overcome each storm of hardships. This kind of true joy gushes forth endlessly. You cannot enjoy a true and profound joy if you seek only to indulge yourself in comfortable situations where you don't have to experience severe happiness. This is strict guidance. I'm going to say it one more time. As Daisaku Ikeda has written, true joy emerges ceaselessly from within your life when you squarely battle to overcome each storm of hardships. This kind of true joy gushes forth endlessly. You cannot enjoy a true and profound joy if you seek only to indulge yourself in comfortable situations where you don't have to experience severe hardships. Very significant. Because, as we said at the start, life is inevitable suffering. Say you had an abuser in your family and no one's really saying anything. Everyone's just keeping it under the surface, under the rug. But you've been chanting, and you know that you need to approach this. You know that it's on you to say something. And then you have the courage and then you approach it, even though it creates hell for a while. But you knew that you had to approach this situation. And then within a year, you see everyone in the family has shifted. Everyone's slightly lighter. The conversation has happened because you had the courage to approach it. There's a joy that you will never experience unless you know what it means to be the person to do that kind of difficult, sometimes I call it shadow work. Do you have the courage to face things which are difficult, but you know that you have to do it? This is true spirituality, true happiness, actually. Most people don't think that happiness means having the courage to face the darkness. But for me, that's kind of what it means, to be able to fulfill our mission and to do it proudly and to know the relief that comes from doing it. I've had conversations with people today. Sometimes there's difficult conversations that need to be had. But if you respect people, you got to say your truth to them. And if they're really your soldiers, they will stay with you regardless and be compassionate for what you're sharing. It's very easy to not share things. It's very easy to just be like, oh, it's okay. I'm at a point in my life where it's almost like I'm trying to close off my heart chakra and stop sharing everything, because it's almost like I'm triggering every single person outside of my own personal circle right now. Every single person. But this is, I feel this is because of where we're at now, at the development of the awakening of the spirit on the planet. I just can't allow things to not be discussed that are in my environment. And it's just upsetting attachments for so many people right now in so many ways. I just got a message. Who's this? I feel privileged to be on this call. Thank you all involved. I'm not sure why my camera is off, but really enjoyed this. Samson, please tell me who you are, but thank you so much for that message. Ryan, any final words on happiness and what it means as a actual Buddhist?
Well, again, it's about recognizing that larger part of yourself, that you are not a creature of just of the moment, but of a lifetime, of a continuum, and that the happiness you want to build is something that is indestructible, in that it cannot be taken from you because you've created it yourself. You know, the caterpillar has become the butterfly. Okay, it's well, I say simple as that. It's easy to say that, harder to do, obviously. But again, it's not. It's about understanding the truest part of yourself that feels the truest joy, basically, as opposed to I like ice cream.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah.
So it's not of the moment. Okay. It's nourished by self, by going through all these noble worlds and understanding the necessary steps required of each one. Your rationality, your calm, your compassion, and ultimately your enlightenment.
Yeah. Thank you so much. And thank you, Jay, for your message. So next week, we're going to be studying Relationships That Work, chapter 5. In 2 weeks, yeah? I remember I said I'm going to do the next one in 2 weeks, just to give my soul a moment, because I've got my fingers dipped in so many pies right now. I'm like steak and kidney pie out here. And so I just need to make sure I balance my own life. But yeah, so in 2 weeks, Relationships That Work and Buddhism and Health, yeah? And so I'm going to make sure that I highlight the most powerful parts of both them chapters, and we'll discuss it. Maybe we'll try and go for 2 hours realistically if we can. And then that means we've only got 2 more sessions left, guys. So within a month, the end of this year, it will be finished. And then we'll have Dealing with Death, which is a dense and heavy chapter. And I've been studying this with the young men in the Buddhist community alongside me doing this. And that's going to be a challenging chapter because it's quite dense. And then putting it all into practice, which is very significant. So does anyone have anything to share right now, or want to ask me anything before we leave about just what you're currently going through life? How do I practically put this practice into action? Or any thoughts? Please feel free, just wave your hand and I'll unmute you. And if not, that's also completely fine. Oh yeah, Clea, please. Yeah.
I don't know if this is going to make sense, but you're saying that you can stay as a caterpillar to help the other caterpillars, but can you not help people reach Buddhahood whilst being in Buddhahood, or do you have to be at their level to help them? Is that what you're saying?
So I guess me and Ryan will both touch on this. I'm not saying that we have to meet them at their level. In a sense, the very act of me helping you means I'm in them 2 life states of Bodhisattva and Buddhahood already. You know, like you're not going, like if someone's a thief and a rapist, I'm not going to become a thief and a rapist to match their frequency. But I'm going to want to help them in any way I can, you know. And also this concept of Buddhahood, okay, is different in different forms of Buddhism, okay? So in different forms of Buddhism, let's say Tibetan or Zen or something, Buddhahood still to them is quite similar to the Abrahamic, where it's still a place that you're going to go, Buddha land, yeah, over there, ding, ding, ding. It's not here right now. And so they lie on nails of bed. They cut off all of their hair and they wear robes. They're giving up the desires that they have as humans, which for me personally isn't what I want to do. They give up their desires and they make their life difficult in the hope that they'll one day go to what they call Buddha land, Buddhahood, where Nichiren Daishonin was like, nah, blood clot, it's now, it's in this moment. It's not no external destination or place. It's not some like universal geography somewhere. No. It's a place here. It's inside. Yeah. And that's why Buddhism has got so manipulated, because again, in Japan and Asia and India, people were just like giving up their lives to devote themselves to, and basically just went through suffering in the hope that they will one day get to this external place. And that was never Shakyamuni's intentions. That was never Jesus Christ's intentions, or Joshua or Muhammad, in my opinion. But it's been so manipulated in the last 2,000 years that it's now an actual destination. And as we all know, because time doesn't even exist, how can it be a destination? How can it not be right here in this moment only? Because only this moment exists. Mm-hmm. And so Buddhahood and Bodhisattva, the life states, are people that can, in a sense, yeah, if we want to take it like new agey, it's just like a new age word for being a light worker or a shadow worker. You know, it's just as a bodhisattva, that's our word for it. We're here and we can grapple with the shadows and the light, and we know how to alchemize it and then help other people become happier. You know what? Open up their heart chakra. How can I get a grown man to cry and love his mother again? Because we need to the divine feminine needs to come into his life again. This is all bodhisattva actions. You know, even a cleaner in Tesco, yeah, who makes sure that there's always toilet tissue in there. That's a bodhisattva thing. This is why I love Buddhism, because it sounds all very mystic and mad, but it's actually very grounded, simple things, you know, like, and that's when it's like, oh, wow, actually, maybe I am a Buddha. Maybe I'm comfortable calling myself that, because that's where my life is at. Ryan, anything to touch before we let Kate ask a question on just
really simply, it's a false comparison to think that being a bodhisattva and being a Buddha are separate. They're not. They're essentially the same. The difference is, if we can go back to the butterfly analogy, you've got a bodhisattva who remains a caterpillar to help other caterpillars build their cocoons and become butterflies. Yeah? Oh, still makes sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The difference being a Buddha, who would be the butterfly, is still helping the other caterpillars weave their cocoons, but they do it more by being an example, because everyone looks up and goes, wow, that butterfly is amazing. That's what I want to be. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah.
Extend that analogy.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yeah. That's a great way of seeing it, actually. Being the example as well, shining, you know, giving people the opportunity to also, you know, giving them permission to shine because I'm shining. Even that is an act of bodhisattva. It doesn't even have to be I'm helping someone. I'm going to love myself so much and put so much energy into my life. That's an act of bodhisattva as well, because now I'm giving other people the opportunity to shine. And it doesn't always have to be I'm out here, you know, like Mother Teresa. But yeah, Kate, please, I don't know, let me unmute you.
Yeah, hi. I don't know if this is going to really make any sense. It's not really a question. It's just more of a kind of observation that I've made in myself within reading the book and going through and chanting and stuff. But I've had a very turbulent relationship with my parents for years and years and years. And I had a situation the other day where I guess I've never been able to speak my truth to them. And I had a situation where it all kind of came out, and it was like in that uncomfortableness came a lot of things that were dealt with that I probably wouldn't have been able to deal with or haven't been able to deal with in the past, because it's been too uncomfortable, because I don't want to hear the answer from them, or I don't want to put myself into that uncomfortableness of hearing something maybe negative about myself. I don't know if that makes any sense, but like,
yeah,
it's just the synchronicities that are going on at the moment are just like, it's just really like, yeah. So for, I don't know how many years I had a conversation and I walked away from that very, very upset, very, very upset. But I was no longer suppressing those feelings. They were coming out. The uncomfortableness came out. I had the conversation and I walked away feeling like, shit, why didn't I do that years ago?
Fuck yes.
Do you know what I mean? And it's just like, and that can't be just something like that's happened. It's like because of like practicing this and yeah, just crazy. And funnily enough, I was looking after a lady today, and we were talking about Marcus Aurelius and Gladiator, and I'm just
blood clot. Yo, Ryan.
And I've got that book that Ryan was on about. I've got it. I haven't actually read it yet, but I've got the book because I'm a massive book collector.
Whoa.
But like, I'm just like, when you were saying about that, I was like, whoa, what is going on?
Yo, that's mad.
Providence.
That's mad. Like, we were so in depth with this yesterday, and then I'm watching it with my mum until like 1 a.m. Then we do the call, and then you're talking about it yesterday. This is the ether, and for me, this is how I run my life. That's the universe. So in ding ding ding, this is correct.
Yeah.
Bang. Like, keep going. Yeah. The only thing I need now is the universe and my relationship to confirm something. Like I said, a lot of people turn their backs and stuff when you start to become who you really are. So actually, if the universe confirms, then that's all I need. And that's and also, Kate, like, your story is just like, could it be more in tune to what I was basically saying? Like, when you chant, like, whether you decided to or not, your on a subconscious level, you knew, I'm now ready to hold this energy. I'm now ready to hold it. And then you've gone in, and congratulations on the pain and the difficultness and the nastiness. Congratulations, because now it's moving. Now the flow's happening. It's like, I don't know what it's called, man. Like maybe like the 8 stages of grief or some shit. But it's like some people, when something super mad happens or something suppressed, you're just dull. Yeah. And actually it's better to be fucking mad at the world, because at least that's like a proactive thing. You're doing something with it. You're moving the energy instead of just nothingness. And it sounds like that, and that's that stagnant, suppressed thing. Your higher self knew, I can't, like, I'm now evolving. I'm going to a new frequency. I've got new opportunities and doors, but I can't bring this heaviness with me anymore. It has to be down, and it might not be your heaviness. It might be the whole family's, but you've come in and had that conversation, and you're shifting everyone now. They've shifted, and it's just incredible. What a beautiful thing to hear.
And I walked away from it realizing as well that, like, you know, that I have got to change. I've got to change. It's like, that's what I walked away from it. And it was like so many things that I obviously won't go into, but so many sort of like things have been happening recently. But it was like walking away and just being so grounded within myself and realizing, right, okay, if I want this world that I live in to be a good place, then I have to change.
Yeah, you can't join the dots until you know there are dots there. You know, and you can't know the dots are a pattern unless you rise up and take that wider view, which is what you did there.
Wow. And it's
so thank you, guys.
Thank you, Kate. It is so true. When I change, everything changes. And it's like, sometimes I forget this, and I'm doing this 10 years, and sometimes I can be chanting and I'm waiting. I remember, I'll give you a very, very, very quick example. I was chanting for 3 years for a G-Wag. Yeah. And I had no money to my name in my mum's bedroom, chanting for a G-Wag. Yeah. 3 years. And I remember one day going, no G-Wags appeared. This faith tells me that no prayer goes unanswered, apparently. Yeah, where the blood clot is my G-Wag? And I realized I didn't even apply for my driving license. Foolishness. Yeah, chanting isn't about being magic. It's about, and then I applied for my driving license, like through a very mystic circumstances. I got it all paid for me and my test, and then I passed my test, and then you're supposed to rent a car. I think you have to have like a license for 2 years. Yeah, but an old friend of mine offered me a job, and within 2 months of passing my test, I had a car for a year and all the petrol. I was like, and it wasn't my G-Wag, but it was like, it's almost like all that good karma for 3 years was waiting to bust down if I just created the right action. Then it was like, boom, here's a car. I didn't basically do anything for it. And I got like a brand new spaceship Kia for a year. And I was just like, wow. And I'll never forget. Like, yeah, you can chant all day long, but if you're not going to be brave enough to have that conversation, to have that dialogue, to go into them difficult spaces, that's true spirituality for me. Is streetwise spirituality. You know, I've got a company with my sister, Ascending Tribe. You can see it right here. We are always saying that true spirituality is knowing about sovereignty and doing the work here as the ground crew. You know, like, I know that I've got spiritual help in a different realm, but I'm the one that chose to incarnate into the dense human flesh. So I'm the ground crew. So I've got to do the work myself. And when we work on ourselves and then walk into spaces like Kate just has, sometimes it's like, I don't even know if you plan to have that conversation with your family that day, but it's just everything will sync up, just like us with the Marcus Aurelius, where it's inevitable. And it's like, this now has to come to the surface. Jar's gonna drop it on the dinner table, deal with that, boom, I'm gonna step back. Yeah, but now you're in a life state where you can hold this and everything's just gonna shift. So fucking amazing. And I love all of you. What incredible warriors and bodhisattvas that we all are. And we must have such massive missions, because this is all training. I don't know what's to come for all of us, but this is still all training so that we can handle this life, because many people can't handle it, you know, and they're finding it very difficult and hard, and they're searching and screaming for a philosophy. And if we can prove the validity of chanting Nam Myoho Renge Kyo, which Kate so clearly is right now in that example, yeah, and you can show them, look, this is like, you can't make this up. There's no way that I texted Kate going, yo, I beg you talk about Marcus Aurelius so that me and Ryan look cool on the camera. There's no way that happened, I promise you. And so yeah, love you guys. Thank you. Give me a wave. Let me see your energy. Beautiful, 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 beautiful. I'll see you in 2 weeks. Make sure that if you don't hear from me, just make sure you send me a message and I'll send you the next Zoom link. Ryan?
The 2 handouts are in the chat. So if you want to grab them now. And please do give me some feedback on it, because God knows they need some work. So if you tell me what you kind of think you need.
I don't know how they... Oh, okay. You save it. Stoicism and Nichiren Buddhism.
Yeah.
Wow, so wait. You made that while we was talking, or you had that made already?
No, I anticipated that it might come up, and I thought, you know how my brain works. So I made them more or less, but basically the same day that we had that chat, because it was so interesting. I just, you know,
Yeah.
wanted to share it. So
Wow, incredible. Thank you so much. All right, guys. I'm going to chant 3 times and then love you and leave you. Have an incredible Saturday. And just keep on being your raw, vulnerable self, you know. Chant, and when you chant, take the moment, just turn your phone off, just give it everything you can for that 5 minutes or 10 minutes. Really just try to be still for that moment. You know, I'm saying this to myself because sometimes I'm chanting and I'll be texting someone like, yo, what, go on? And I'm thinking, I can't be doing that, you know. Really just 24 hours in a day. Let's just try and give at least 20 minutes a day to it. If you are still doing the 21-day course challenge. But anyway, let's chant 3 times, guys, and I'll love you and leave you. Nam yo ho renge kyo. Nam yo ho renge kyo. Nam yo ho renge kyo. I love you, Buddha family. Sleep well, sleep deep. See you real soon. 2 weeks. Mwah.